going. Alright, so can everybody see me in the camera? I should be orange and red, and everything around me is blue. So if you take me out of the picture, it should fluctuate. The trees and everything else should have some orange and red tones to them instead, and some yellow. So I have this set up to white hot, black cold. So really what we're looking for on here is either black things moving or white or blue things moving around. What this camera will also do is, in the event we actually have something that is moving and is intelligent, it's going to put a white line around it. So whoever has this, and you guys will see this in the morning when you get your video back, the structures and anything that is a solid object, because this does not see in 3 dimensionals. It only sees in heat signatures. That's it. So if it sees something like, and you're studying this, so Lee, this is going to go right to you, buddy. So really what you're going to do all night long is you're going to hold it out horizontal, just like this. And there's a red square on there. If that red square turns into a circle, you need to hit it again. And that way it continues to record.
Okay. Am I doing this?
That's all you.
Okay.
So, camera's obviously right where your hand is, and right here at the bottom of that is where the lens is.
Ah, okay.
So you're going to do nice slow movements for me all night and keep it horizontal. The more you move it up and down, the more likely it is that you're going to hit that button, and I'm going to have a ton of videos to splice together. It's happened in the past, that's why you try to hold it out all night. Alright, so we're going to stick with the temperature for right now, just so that I can get this group settled away. I want to debunk things that are going to show up on there. So if Lee says, hey Nick, there is a blue spot on the wall, I think we might actually have something. We should all know what this guy is by now, right? So the red dot is going to measure any surface temperature, okay? It's not going to measure any ambient air. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test the building and say, hey, the whole building is the same temperature. I now know that that cold spot is between Lee and the wall. So that's where this guy comes into play. This measures ambient temperature. This is a psychrometer, and it's meant to measure humidity and temperature. So with that being said, I can go through and find where that cold spot literally is. Might be a little difficult with some of the wind, but we could still debunk a lot of things. So this is to help us debunk things. So you guys, I like to have 2 sets of eyes on there. That is not as active, so you guys can flip and move things around. Just keep the gadgets within your group. John, you'll obviously
you guys
have
are
to
just
keep things for yourself. But he's like, I'm not giving up that camera. We're going to work with several different types of spirit boxes. So I do like to have 2 sets of ears on things. So Amber, this is actually going to work out perfect, so you can continue to take pictures. But this way you guys can both listen. The cool thing about this one is it actually records the entire session, whether it's on mute or not. It is not going to record any of us. Anybody here not know what a spirit box is?
I don't know.
Okay, perfect. So I don't mind explanation. So spirit box is basically, think of a radio sweeper. It's going to flip through all of the FM radio stations, and any voice that you guys hear, whether it's a DJ, a song lyric, commercial, or a disembodied voice, tell me what it is. In the event you guys can't hear it, because it does happen, you can't understand like what's coming through all the time, it's okay. It's recording the entire session for us, so I can review it again in the morning. I'm going to set it up to record. All you literally have to do is turn the volume up and down when I'm talking or not talking. So I'll usually say spirit box up, and then we'll roll. Start the sweep. I'll turn it on so everybody kind of gets a gist of what they're going to be listening for. SD card is in there. Good. So there's a little SD on the screen, so as long as that's there, it's recording. And there's a little turnstile at the top that turns the volume up and down. That's all you guys need to know to be able to control this. Okay? So there are certain places where I'll say, let's keep it at an audible level. That's basically just so the 2 of you can hear it, so I can walk away and use my own spirit box. So Amber, that's going to go to you. And I usually put 2 sets of ears on that anyway, so you guys can verify each other. Alright, let's get both thermometers to 1 person. Let's try that. I'm getting to you, buddy, don't worry.
No worries.
Alright, EMF. Only because this is actually set up for a group of 10, so we can actually kind of spread this out a little bit. So EMF is something you probably see on all those ghost hunting shows, right? But this is our first indicator that something is actually happening that's paranormal. There are 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. The first one is natural. It comes from the earth. That's why this is green right now. The second one is from electronic devices or man-made objects. So wiring, cell phones, those, you don't have to shut your phones off. That's usually the first question. It would literally have to be touching it. It would give us a pulse. So we don't want a pulse or a rhythm either. We want that erraticism. We want it to go absolutely crazy. this is our first point that something is actually happening. It doesn't make any noise, so you're going to have to let us know when it's going nuts.
What does it do when it goes nuts?
So if it goes nuts, and we can't explain that it's either a natural EMF field or something coming from an electronic device, it is something spiritual or paranormal. So that is our first indication, especially when it's going crazy and there's no rhythm to it. That's our first sign that something else is going to go off.
Yes, but what is going crazy?
The lights. The lights will start to go nuts. So let me show you. Let me turn on my cell phone. I'm going to just touch it. So the lights are the only thing that you're going to, it's a visual tool. Sean, I'm going to give you a spirit box as well. So this one does the exact same thing that theirs does, only it doesn't record. Your control is on the back of the speaker. This thing will turn as you want it to be. Very simple. There's no volume control. That's the only issue with this guy. So there's device number one. I am going to have Sean hold another device. I'm testing this out for the first time. I just got it in the other day, and I haven't really had a chance to play with it. But it is kind of the theory that the spirit world can draw and drain batteries. You guys have all heard that, correct? You've never heard that before? Okay, so in a sense, the spirit world can muster enough energy based on electronic devices and or stronger batteries. So we're going to actually set up a battery tester to kind of test this theory. Again, I haven't used this yet, I just got it. And I do have rubber bands on it just to hold the thing in place. It looks like you have a cargo pocket in your hoodie there, so feel free to keep it in there. And we're just going to kind of see what this is like throughout the night. Just kind of test it and see if something is draining the battery quicker than what it should be. So it will drain the battery. So as you can see, it's already in the green. I'm going to show everybody.
Okay.
I'm expecting it normally to go into the yellow. That's about all it should drain in about a 90-minute time period. Okay, so it's already in the green. It's already in the green. Again, it should go into the yellow, maybe just past it. If it definitely is in the red by the end of your 90 minutes, we definitely had something hanging out with us. So again, go ahead and pocket that for now. Just kind of check on it from time to time. If something looks nuts, speak up. All right, a couple last things I'm going to use on my phone. You guys are pretty quiet. You guys know that this is interactive, right? You guys got to chat with
Well,
me.
you're the one talking.
So I do keep a backup EMF in case yours dies. It does happen, and the batteries get drained, which is why I bought that guy. And the one on my phone isn't as sensitive, but it does work. Where's my devices? Sorry. So I do use two different spirit boxes on my phone. So the first one is actually going to give us a list of words right there in the center of the screen. And then the cool thing about that is it's going to save them to a list. So that list, this is the list from last night. They had 55 terms. I'm going to clear them out and start you guys off fresh. Only 80% of this is absolute bullshit. I'll be quite honest with you guys. It's only 20%, maybe 15, that's going to be relevant to what's actually happening to us, the place that we're at, or relevant to the story and the stories I'm going to tell. This was part of that sentence that I told you guys where I got the word tea. I will fix you breakfast or baked beans breakfast and tea. This is the one where it came up with tea, and it was all within the same timestamp. So you guys will have that word list by tomorrow morning. And one last piece that I use is a reverse spirit box. So reverse spirit box is allegedly on this particular app is the same FM stations that are being transferred on your guys' devices, but it's in reverse. So if I hear something forward, that's when I know I was actually meant to hear it. That's where the baked beans breakfast part came from. So I'm going to turn it on so you guys can get a gist of what it actually sounds like. I keep this on me, and it will show up in your audio. It will record, obviously, me and the recording. So I'll go ahead and turn it up so you guys get a gist of this. Complete gibberish. So if I hear something, do you guys want me to play that baked beans breakfast EVP so you can hear the difference?
That'd be cool.
So I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like I was up half the night texting people, like I said. Let me shut that one off. I know I sent it to my wife. So. It'll play again. That's a long turn. Can you hear it now? Does everybody get a gist of that? I mean, clear as day. Probably one of the best EVPs I've ever caught.
Wow.
And that was from last night. So we're going to kind of see what else happens for tonight. So I do keep both my spirit boxes running, the one with the word list and this reverse one. That way we have multiple points of communication. So all I literally have to do is turn the volume up and down. You will hear chirping from the blue one, because that's when it gets excited and wants to give us another word. And you'll also hear the static in the reverse part of the other at the same time. I know, lots of technical details. In the event we actually capture something, I will give you the markers of what we find on your camera, all of the digital spirit boxes, and my digital spirit box. So we start here for a reason, guys. This place is haunted. This place used to be called Big John's. You've taken a tour here before?
In Charleston.
A ghost tour or just a normal history tour? Okay. So, Big John was a football player for the 1947 Giants. Football. And he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would let the bartender know if the cadets from the Citadel were of age or not. One night, he pissed off two guys because they weren't of age, and they left. They come back the next night, and they steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John pulls out his gun, shoots one, kills him, and the ricochet bullet hole is still in the wall of the front of this bar. It is said anybody that sits in the front gets a little queasy, dizzy, disoriented, those kind of things, from time to time. The only EMF that I've ever actually captured inside this building was right inside that window on occasion. I've been in this bar several times when it was Cane Rum Bar, and I would go in waiting for guests, and I would test the place out, and only on occasion would I get an EMF signal. That's a good thing. We don't want the same thing night after night after night. Work out, that's not good. So we'll kind of see how this goes.
It'll be a rough night.
Last night started with Satan, and I had that great AVP that came through on a friendly. So, and anyway, I tell you guys this for a reason. I know how paranormal activity is going to affect me. I don't know how it's going to affect any of you. If any of you, now you're singular, so you're going to have to speak up. If any of you are not feeling well, dizzy, disoriented, queasy, any of those things, the slightest bit of a headache, I need to know. Just because it's that important. The first time somebody passed out on one of my tours, the next day I went and got CPR trained. So I don't want to use it. It is a big deal. I've had
What
witches.
does that mean if you feel? Like, does that have anything to do with the ghost? Or
It has everything to do with the ghosts. I've had witches come on this tour and just say no. Like, they got to like the second location, they were done.
They didn't want to keep going.
It was too much. And it was in a more active night. So I don't say this to scare you guys, because this is not a scary tour. This is more about the devices and proving that the paranormal is real.
Do
When
they
I have
get
a wish-
devices?
What's
yeah,
that?
they have the recorder.
Oh, just the one recorder. Okay.
Yeah. Because
he's
he's going to be
taking
taking, I'm going to point out a few
pictures.
things anyway. Only because I normally have a digital camera anyway for that extra
Cool.
bit of proof, but kind of everybody's got their hands full with the recordable devices, so I'd rather
Perfect.
have those. But again, it's all you. I'll point out some good slots though.
Cool.
So again, please speak up for somebody in your party. You'll have to speak up for yourself if you're not feeling well. Last night my group told me after the tour was over. You guys were supposed to tell me that when it happens, so I can stop.
Should we wear sunglasses?
I have epilepsy,
So that's why you're wearing that.
and I am pretty much allergic to sunlight.
Okay.
So that is a key part of my seizure. So
Why do you
until
know
the
if
sun's
we see
completely
some
down,
buttons?
any UV light actually hurts my eyes.
Fair enough.
So anyway, so the other story that actually goes to this place was an earthquake in 1886. It's a big deal for Charleston because we don't get earthquakes. It was a 7-point something on the Richter scale, and a piece of the mantle that's above your heads that wraps around the front of the building actually fell and struck somebody in the head, and it is said that that was the first death that occurred here from that earthquake. Now, I don't have any proof of that, nor can I find anything online through the research that I've done, but I take Paul, the previous owner of Cane Rum Bar, his word for it that it's legit, because he is actually said to have seen some shadow figures right here on East Bay Street. Now, are we all good to go? You guys have any more questions before we move along? All right, let's go to our first location, and I'll kind of give you the gist of what's happening.
Maybe it'll make it seem darker. What? If you wear glasses, it'll seem darker. It's not funny. Maybe it'll be better. So this gun doesn't feel too much. That's because that's the surface of the skin. Oh, that's not your
Okay,
body.
we're gonna have to walk a little bit faster if we actually.
Yeah, because I can't hear him from back here with his glass.
Okay, so then walk a little bit faster.
like your first practice area. This is a haunted location.
Oh, it's going crazy.
Good. That's what we need you to do. Perfect.
He had something here.
I actually had 4 terms so far. I've had Hell, Transition, Collector, and Notice. So none of those really
Someone
mean
needs to
anything,
pay their taxes.
right? So a couple things here. The Crew Cafe has an alleged suicide haunting. They say that somebody actually jumped off the 2nd story and committed suicide. I did get an EMF reading when I did do a quick walkthrough. Hopefully I get to do a full investigation soon. Thank you COVID for screwing up my entire summer. I also can't find the deeds and the title to that house because it used to be a slave home. So slave homes did not have addresses. So it's kind of difficult to do research when nothing shows up in the paper or on any land plats. But for your history books, down at the stop sign just past Crew Cafe, I want everybody to kind of picture the peninsula of Charleston being much skinnier than it is now because everything on the edges is man-made. And a revolutionary ship came in, shot a cannon, landed right there at that stop sign. No deaths, no tragedies, no paranormal activity. However, they did find pieces of that cannonball. So you can check Mark Jones's website for that. So where are we standing now? We're standing in what I call the Red Barn Lot. Again, not a whole lot of history here. So before we get too crazy with lasers, and you're the only one with lasers because I didn't pull out the rest of them, I do have laser grids where we can actually see things that the naked eye can't see, so we have to pull them out. But anyway, this is where they keep the horses for the carriage rides. The horses are still in there. Sean, I'm going to ask, because you don't have volume control, that you stay away from that half of the lot and you kind of stick to this half. You will spook the ponies, they will kick, and they will scare the hell out of all of us. Yeah. So it is very loud. Your other spirit box, obviously I want you guys to be kind of touring around and checking things out in spirit box sessions. So let's talk about that for a second. This is not literally a ask as many questions as you possibly can. We've got the number 4, which is weird because I normally ask specific questions with numbers in this lot and the next. So your questions, you're going to pick a question that is a non-yes or no question. So is anybody here is a yes or no question, right? And if somebody answers no, we obviously have a smart-ass ghost. So, because he's answering. You're going to ask questions that you may know the answers to. What color is the barn? What's inside the barn? You're going to ask that question about once every 30 seconds, and you guys can even do that with your regular audio. You may ask a question, Amber, and the answer comes up right here, shows up on the thermal, or Sean might get the answer. We don't know where it's going to go. We never know. That's why I use so many different types of devices. This is also the same Red Barn lot where they kept the horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So if that kind of dates it for you, there is a sewer line running underneath this lot. There's nothing to make that EMF go crazy. We're not close enough to you right now to make it go crazy. So whenever your stuff goes nuts, you guys need to be filming, and we should probably get a spirit box session close enough nearby, whether it's me, Sean, or the 2 of you. Okay? So if she says it's going nuts, I will probably come around. We will debunk things first. Lee, you're going to get us nice slow movements all through the lot. Keep it horizontal. As far as you're going to keep that red dot out of the windows.
Out of the windows.
Okay. So no windows. And some vehicles are sensitive to infrared light. So be mindful of that too. So don't be shooting too many cars. Okay. All right. So questions, comments, concerns. I will bounce around with all of you at first just to make sure everybody's kind of using their gadgets appropriately and maybe help the 2 spirit boxes listen in on what I normally listen for in the mornings.
So what am I looking for when
you're kind of keeping Lee's camera in check. So and they're not synced up, so they're going to be a few degrees off. But if he finds a cold spot, you're going to help him debunk whether it's actually from the wind, if it's a different type of material, those type of things. So you're helping to debunk the things that he's going to be finding.
So I would point it and push where he is.
So wherever he thinks is a cold spot, he's actually going to say, there's a cold spot in that corner, start shooting that laser in there, and let's see if it's a surface. If it's not a surface, then you need to be using the yellow thermometer. Does that make sense?
Not a surface, like just the air, you mean?
Just the air.
You have to walk through it.
Yep.
Oh, you walk through it with the air.
There's a probe in here, okay, at the very top, and that's why it's an ambient temperature. So it's going to measure the air right here and not anywhere else. So if it's not a surface, then it needs to be in the air. So let's get you guys listening and kind of walking through nice slow movements. And again, just kind of keep that volume audible so we don't spook the ponies. Sean, if you want to start on the left-hand side, just with random questions. Nathaniel.
Are we all asking random questions?
No, only those with the spirit boxes. I mean, you guys can actually kind of do that as well. But again, same type of mentality. Keep that same question once every 30 seconds for about 2 minutes. In the event that you guys actually don't hear an answer, or I don't get a weird answer to something, then I would literally say, if I'm going to be by myself, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to move on to another question. I'm going to pretend like whatever's here is actually right in front of me, and I'm going to move on to the next question. Because they might have something that they don't want to answer tonight, which is exactly what happened.
Sometimes depends on where it is. Consistent.
So you're looking for blue spots. that
Yeah, so like
show
for
up in-
example,
Oh, whoa, that
There
was
we go.
like here's blue, so it's a little colder.
See how it's not
You have to be
necessarily
closer.
when it goes down to green, you get a little blip of orange.
Like,
Probably gonna go up to red.
see, like the air conditioner is hot, so it's. You see that?
Yeah, the air conditioner is obviously going to be a. Follow Lee around. Lee, you're in charge.
Oh, it is freaking right here.
Oh, look at that.
Where?
It's going all the way up to that one,
Ooh, what's that blue spot?
It's just anything that's not like the ground is still warm from the day, so I feel like we're supposed to go over there.
You said what? Slow.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'll go too fast.
Go to the right, go to the left. See if there's something up near the building. There's something just in the air. I guess you're looking for like a figure, right?
Probably something colder than ambient.
So ambient's about 71 right now.
Is it? Because
Ambient's 70, 69 for ambient.
yeah,
How much colder than ambient should we be looking for? Because it's about 70, 69, 8.
Okay.
With ambient, what temperature below?
So I get excited about 10 degrees.
So 50, okay, 59.
60,
10
60.
and plus is when I'm like, all right, we actually have some kind of activity going on that we can't debunk.
Okay.
So in the event that you actually have something that's going to drop below that kind of temperature range, then I need to know so that way we can start debunking it right off the top. It could be just a windy area, it could be a windy cold spot, it could be that corner over there and the wind's just collecting, making that area colder. I like how Lee's studying that thing. It's amazing. He's like, yes.
I'm looking in the windows to see if anything comes up. I
I've
don't know.
had people take pictures up there, just out of curiosity. Anything out of yours? Nothing yet? Okay. Okay, and that's okay. So we're gonna spend a good 5-10 minutes here. And I think, just so you guys can get the gist of how, and Lee, especially with yours, because you have metal here, you have brick, you have trees,
Right.
bushes, asphalt. Go ahead and continue listening, answer a few more questions. I'm gonna listen to Sean now and see what he's got.
There's a 10 degrees less.
Yeah, let's do like 60.
So let's look for some of that.
Oh, it is cold. This is actually tiresome. My arm is getting tired of like.
Yeah, you don't record the sound, right? You're just
I'm not
recording-
sure.
Where did yours goes out really wild? she has some stuff going really wild right here. You go, I saw 69.
No, you're looking for like 60. Like the ground is like 68 or 67. Which house was he saying he couldn't find a deed on? He was looking for a deed for a house, but he couldn't.
I didn't follow that.
But I couldn't.
No, what? Dude, what's that?
Did you want to hold it? What is that? Did you see?
Oh, God, I just
Let's
got hit in the
walk
head
back
with a
down
bat.
Let's walk in this corner over here. So you're looking for temperatures like at 60 degrees. Now it's supposed to be
You're confirming it.
And I would
You're
say if it's in the air really at 60, like the temperature really drops. Or it's the surface that's 70 degrees. So here's something that's still. Hey, it's almost gone to the. It's almost gone to the last bullet. The last. Ooh, it did hit the last one. Anything around
Look
here?
at how red Madeline's face is.
It's hot. It's cold. What was that thing down here?
This is really freaking.
Not that.
hand.
Right there. What's that?
That's nothing.
What's that?
That's,
75.
that's the ground.
No, go over here. I saw something over here.
Guys, it freaks when I go right here. Look.
Oh, what's that?
That's the ground.
I know, but well, how close is that?
That's just a cooler spot of the ground.
You know, I realize that.
It's relative. Ooh. Some kind of signal here.
Freaks her. Go like.
This way.
So I wonder if yours should look like a figure. Like,
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
their lights are going.
It's all the way at the like. The
Okay,
last.
we're getting some weird activity out of Sean's device, so we're going to use mine and try to do it quick since you got the high EVP. We were just talking to somebody named Tom on the other box. Can you say Thomas for us so we can confirm that? Yeah. I'm looking for the name Thomas. And there's no rhythm for that at all. Looking for Thomas. If you're not Thomas, tell us what your name is.
Richard, I heard Rich.
Did you hear Rich? Okay. That's a good marker for us because it's on a recording. We can rewind by 5 seconds and verify. I heard Richard again.
I think it's Richard. Are we talking to Richard?
That's a yes or no.
Oh, after that.
That's what I usually say.
Richard, how old are you? Richard, how old are you?
I mean, this is still freaking.
So his thing
It doesn't beat.
Unless he sees something. And it's screen is so small you may miss something. That's why I watch it on my TV in the morning,
Yeah.
so that way I don't miss anything.
I see looking for like a figure or just a dot.
Figure, cold spot, anything. It could be the smallest, minuscule. All right, let's go meet up with the rest of the group because I want to start getting into the history. Bye, Richard.
Number 30 mean anything?
I don't know.
Oh, we asked how old he was.
So I asked about a football number for Big John. I got 30. And then I asked what number he was. And I thought I heard 8.
Let's Google this real quick. 1947 New York Giants football roster. Go ahead and shut that down for now so I can listen to myself think.
Oh, why?
Let's see, show the roster real quick. We caught like a Richard from their box. I don't see a Tom or a Richard. And he said the number 30.
30, and then either 8 or 18. It was. With this one, it happened so quick that you're like, what was that?
Yeah. That would be over here.
Yep, number.
But there are plenty of 30-year-olds.
It would have been playing football.
Yep. All right, so what do you guys say we go actually learn some history now?
Okay.
Everybody got the gist of how the gadgets work?
Yeah.
Let's go do this. I need 3. I don't know how you guys do it.
So you asking lots of questions?
Yeah, I asked quite a few. Like once I was getting felt like we were getting responses.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Is it actually already red?
Yeah, it's already touching the red.
Oh my gosh.
So where we started from
Was
was in the green.
quarter of the way into the green.
I actually put it on, I put the battery in this morning for about 2 hours just to kind of see like how much I should expect out of this thing. It shouldn't be down into the red.
So you use the same amount of battery in a half hour you use in 2 hours this month.
Yeah, roughly. Interesting.
Oh, that spot was really popping.
I was worried that wasn't going to be a relevant thing, so.
I have a ghost radar on.
Perhaps.
It does.
This is freaking out.
You know, it's kind of spoofy.
Yeah.
But we were talking one time about my friend. And what she was using in the future. But she had told anybody she was pregnant, popped up pregnant, baby, bottle. Then we went down in the basement and they said, get out. So, what? Goes into it.
They changed it from COVID?
You don't have to pay the meters after 6.
It was always after 10.
Oh.
Yeah, but with COVID, it's after 6.
They changed it to 6?
Yeah, they did that back in even May, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
I'm a tour guide. I never pay the meters. I don't start work till 7, so.
Well, good. It used to be 6, and then they changed it to 10. I was pissed. Then, alright, well, good to know. Thank you.
And what's funny, guys, is I did get the word late. So she's talking about the times. We did get the word late pop up. Very cool. All right, so guys, a couple things. We're going to talk about your EMF. Yes, I know it's probably going crazy already. This is the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion site. So this is a very interesting parking lot, and I promise I will not take you guys to parking lots all night long. That's not how this goes. But the mansion would have been sitting in the front, and Eliza's garden would have been lined up with that blue dumpster, and then the slave quarters would have been back here where these cars are parked. So that's the layout. So who the heck were Charles and Eliza Pinckney? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew signers of our Constitution. So the son was obviously raised here. That's a pretty big deal for Charles. Charles, the father, was actually, I think, was the governor or something like that. Again, I'm not a politician. Don't really care. It's just I know he was important to us, and I know that didn't silver from England. One of those gifts happens to be indigo. So you guys have been driving around town, and you guys see the word indigo, either in street names, hotels, those kind of things, all over town. It actually started right here in Eliza's garden. It did turn into a huge cash crop once our rice plantation went downhill, and she was the businesswoman who sold indigo overseas. So what the heck is indigo? Indigo creates blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Okay, so usually when I got a bunch of shingles on the floor and nothing, but there is one, I'm not going to speculate ages, but I usually have to explain what indigo actually does for us. We still use it. On Disney Plus, there was an episode of Jeff Goldblum's World According To, and he did a whole episode on denim and shows you what indigo actually does for us. So, a couple things about Eliza that you guys can ask me. We're going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes in this location. Sorry, I'm looking for there's a light back there that sometimes will emanate with whatever the EMF is doing. It's not on tonight, so see if you get any activity at all. This location has let me down about 3 times in the past year where there's absolutely nothing, no EMF, no EVPs, no anything. So again, the randomness of it tells me this is legit. And the amount of EVPs I got last night tells me that this is legit. So, directions here. Obviously we want spirit boxes up. Your red infrared needs to stay below the walls. Okay, so there are businesses and people living nearby that can go interrupt. Your EMF, you need to really kind of, I'm getting all kinds of things. That was nice. I just got a Shore, Northwest, and Heritage very quickly, like they all flashed across the screen, which I don't normally get that many terms in a row. Spirit boxes up for sure. Nice slow imaging from you. But again, if the 3 of you kind of want to team up just like you did in the last place, I want to kind of see where everybody's going to go with their spirit boxes because I'm going to go in an opposite direction. You need to kind of stay away from them so that way you're not crossing the streams. No bad Ghostbuster joke intended, but yes, it was. So, let's see where everybody goes. Oh, a couple questions you can ask Eliza. I didn't get into that. So I'm not going to give you the answers so you don't have suggestive thoughts like what we had, what color is the barn and what's inside the barn. You guys all know red horse was what you were listening for. Now I want to test your skills and see what you're actually going to hear. Eliza and Charles had 4 kids. You already know one kid's name was Charles. There was only one daughter. What was the daughter's name? How did Eliza die? Where did she die? And how old was she? Those are all good questions. You can ask what happened to the mansion. Another great question. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. Way to go, Chuck. You got 2 Elizas. So Eliza, the one we're speaking of, actually goes by her maiden name. So it's Eliza blank Pinkney. Find out what the maiden name is. So I'm going to set you guys free. I'm going to do my own spirit box session, but I want to see where everybody goes first. So, fly, my young duck. Fly.
I want to go by the dumpster. I feel like that dumpster's hiding secrets.
Yeah, the dumpster is the garden.
Eliza, why did rice farming go downhill?
We don't have a wasteland.
Ask a question. Eliza, what was your maiden name?
It is interesting to see the things that retain heat more.
Yeah. This car's been sitting here longer than the other.
The one that is colder, it's colder inside cars, which means to me they parked more recently because the car is still cold. Right? The car.
No. Oh, it's
You can go this way.
What's that?
You say that Charles signed the Declaration of Independence? Which Charles signed the Declaration?
Okay, Eliza, what was your daughter's name? Whoa. How much?
So why are ghosts cold?
Because they're not alive.
Oh, it's popping.
See if there's something in there. Valen, what's up? Look behind you. It's 40 degrees.
Anything out of you guys?
It's popping right here in this. Like, it's really going crazy on the two rides.
Okay. Again, this lot is completely random. So last night it was completely red right in the center. I mean, it was like lit up the whole night. Well, the whole time that we were here anyway. So it's just odd that it's up in this corner now. Because, I mean, they usually walk around, like I direct you guys, until you find that hot spot. Anything weird on the camera.
Not that I've seen so far.
Okay.
So
You're
if
gonna-
we're walking without that other thing, can we ask questions or does it?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you
So
can.
again, the audio is like we're gonna hear you guys asking us questions, but this can also pick up because it's just like my regular voice
Yeah.
recorder. If I ask a question, because I've already asked several times, how many people do I have with me? So if I hear on there later the number 7 or the number 6, that's 7 including me, 6 is of you guys. Does that make sense now?
Right.
So that's what I'll be listening for. But yeah, you guys can ask questions all you want to. You just won't hear it until tomorrow morning.
So what you do is you're listening to all the sounds from the different devices, and then you're watching the video at the same time, let them playing kind of concurrently.
I kind of do I do everything in timestamps.
Okay.
So if I see I got the word demonstration, which is what I'm doing now. So what I'll do is one piece at a time. So the first thing I do is I look at that word list and I look at the hotspots of what I
Yeah.
know was active. So the word T in this area is very active. So I'm going to look at all the timestamps from, obviously I can tell what the video is. Then I'm
Right.
going to take the red spirit box and I'm going to kind of see how long it was versus how long the video was, because I do them in sequential order at the end of the night. So I'm going to take that from you first and then take theirs. So I know they're only going to be a minute apart. You see how I do that? You notice I didn't say let's sync all of our devices?
Yeah.
That way I know what kind of timestamp I'm looking at. So if there was something in your 30-minute that you found something, a weird anomaly, and I have something in the middle of our tour here, I know to listen to 30 minutes on theirs
Right.
to see what else comes up. And then I can clue it all in together. And usually it makes sense. I would say 80% of the time it makes complete sense. I'm not getting anything, to be honest with you. That's pretty strong stuff. Something's definitely going on there. I would step away from the vehicle just in case there's something in the trunk. Making it go off again, I'm going to try to go off. And whatever that's making this thing go off is emanating enough to touch this. So they could be standing here, and as they get closer, it's going to go up to red. Does that make sense now? So when we walk along the street at East Bay Street, our ley lines for the parking meters are underneath the sidewalks. That thing's going to go crazy because the current is strong enough to touch it. So you're going to ignore it when we're on East Bay Street because we are going to walk along that road. It might be, unless something is on inside the car. I'm just trying to debunk
Like the alarm system or something.
the alarm system, something plugged into the trunk. Because they have those.
Is there anything there? Is this
Reset the
wall?
ground.
This is parking lot. There's nothing underneath this.
Okay, so.
We obviously have this can. I was actually waiting for my regular one to come up with something.
What is your daughter's name?
Here we go. tell us what your daughter's name was. Eliza, what was your daughter's name? The name of your daughter. That's what we're listening for.
I heard Elaine, but I don't know if that's it.
Sad her daughter died.
Could be.
So where are the words coming from?
Wherever this device, like it's going to randomly pick words. It's got a 9,000 vocabulary. So this is the paid version of it. So essentially they claim that they're taking the words that they hear out of FM signals. But I call bullshit until I'm in a haunted location where 15 to 20% of the words go to the questions that I'm asking. If this were in my living room, a non-haunted location, it's going to just keep spitting out words every 3 to 5 minutes. When I'm in a haunted spot, it's going to kick them out pretty quickly. Like they're just going to come up because it's going to give me all the bullshit words and give me the words that actually make sense to the location that it's haunted. So at the top of your data page, there's a link to all of the types of devices you guys use, and then there's a list of the apps that I'm using. So there's free versions of all of them. So you guys can check this stuff out for yourself, and I'm always available for questions. It's not like you guys don't have my phone number. So I get questions all the time from people from a year ago. Hey, I just found this list. This is what I did last night. All right, let me check on the other spirit box. You guys keep going, and again, you can ask questions if you'd like.
Let's go to the front gate.
Elijah, why did the rice paddy die? Hers is all the way. Well, you might be close to that thing under the
I'll step back a bit.
lounge.
I mean, I stepped back and it's so
Elijah, are you here with us?
Eliza.
Elijah.
Oh, wow, wow, wow.
What?
That's solid, Dad. That was.
Would mean like maybe the only one that drew the indigo.
So
Should
it's
we
actually
talk about indigo and we get the word paint?
stones.
Anything.
I asked what her daughter's name was, what happened to her daughter. I asked where her son signed the Constitution.
Okay.
Did he sign on the left side? If so, say left.
Okay.
Did he sign on the right?
That's
Say
a good
right.
question.
Um,
Both of them on the left, but
were they both on the left?
they were both on the left, right underneath.
Didn't get any verbal response, but like you said, it could show up. Oh,
Wrap this up. I'm not getting a whole lot on my end. When I don't get a lot on my end because Eliza's pretty friendly with me, that's when I start to, all right, this is kind of a dead area tonight. Let's kind of move on and we'll see what comes out of the collective in the morning when I listen to their S-Box. Because they're having a hard time hearing it, which is fine. It happens all the time. So that's where my job comes into play. And I'll spend a good 30 to 45 minutes scanning it in some of the spots that I know are normally pretty active and kind of take it from there and give you guys the markers. They get the word, like we're getting a lot with house. It's the paint, stones, tile.
I did ask what happened to the house. Did
Oh,
it
I
burn?
just asked that too.
Did it blow up?
So-
If it blew up, say the word you know,
Mhm.
fire or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
I've gotten the term, it
Yeah.
blew up several times while standing right here.
I asked what caused it to blow up. Was it during the Civil War? Did it get hit with, you know?
Okay. That's another good
Did
question.
it actually blow up? Did you
It
say-
actually caught fire. We've actually had tons of fires here in Charleston, and this was part of another fire. So,
Well, everything's so narrow.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, they actually had like this whole lot, I mean, side to side. The mansion took up quite a bit. There was another building right here, the main mansion here in the center, and I want to say there was even like a almost like a horse garage over there on the side. So again, this whole front was pretty massive. I found some drawings this morning. A friend of mine sent them over to me like, hey, you do the Pinckney Mansion site, I want you to look at this. And it was a drawing of what the house used to look like before it was destroyed. So, all right, let's get the other two teamed up, and then we'll kind of see what we got going on, and I'll answer all the questions.
Yeah, when I was in the middle one. And that's where I asked what happened.
You guys are all asking a ton of great questions, stuff I've never heard before. So I want to thank you for that. You're keeping me on my toes for sure. Did we capture anything up in this corner? Nothing at all. Okay. So I'm going to take it as an assumption that you guys are kind of having a hard time hearing what I would normally listen for, which is perfectly fine. So I want you to continue doing it through our next locations. And again, if you actually capture something, awesome. You want to talk about the questions that you asked? You asked about
Let's see,
the
they came from England. so why don't we
I
try
asked where they
English?
signed the Constitution. Was it on the left? If so, say left.
kidding.
If it was on the right, say the word right.
Those are great questions, but nobody's ever asked that before, at least not to my knowledge.
I asked if what happened in their mansion was because of the Civil War. Was it hit by cannon fire? Did you know, big fire or exploded or?
And while he was telling me all of this, we got a lot of things that relate to our house. So the word paint, stones, got ranges in here, and tile, all came up. So those are all kind of relative to a house. So the answers to the questions, the daughter's name is Harriet. So that's a three-syllable word, which has come up several times. Three-syllable words can be done. So a lot of times it'll show up on my screen. So if you guys are asking, I usually ask if people are with me, so it doesn't count. So we get a very specific odd number. So there's obviously 6 of you. With me, there's 7. So sometimes we get a weird number. It's my daughter's with me, and they'll count my daughter too. So she's 14. She's an expert knows these gadgets probably better than I do. So the other question, she died at the age of 70 from breast cancer in Philadelphia, and that's where she's buried. Her husband's buried here, but she's actually buried in Philly. So those are all questions that I asked you guys to ask. What else did I ask? Oh, Eliza Lucas Pinckney was her name. So Lucas is a 2-syllable word and is very distinctive with 2 very odd sounds. You guys can obviously think of me as a linguist, and I'm looking at phonetic sounds. U and S are 2 very distinct sounds. So one of the reasons why I tell you to stay away from yes or no questions is O and S are very common pieces in our English language. So I don't want them to be mistaken from something else trying to come through like Lucas and you thought you heard the word yes. Does that make sense to everybody now?
Yeah.
All right. So did I ask you guys to ask any more questions? Was that it? Did I answer them all?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. All right, so we're going to actually walk up East Bay Street. By all means, take as many pictures as you'd like at that point. You can listen to your spirit boxes along the way if you want to. Your laser, I'm sorry, has got to be a no-go because we got lots of traffic tonight. Please keep filming and try to keep up. I know I told you to take nice, slow movements.
Trying to.
But yeah, you can keep up with us during this period. If we find
Yeah.
anything, it's going to be skewed anyway because you're going to be rocking the way you
Right.
walk. It's just because you're a human. And your EMF's going to go crazy. So why is your EMF going to go crazy?
Cars and stuff.
Well, the ley lines underneath the sidewalks are for the parking meters and crosswalks. They are strong enough to touch the EMF meter. So I really want you to just ignore it.
Ignore it.
And if you want to, you can study it as you're walking to see how it's going to pulse and come through versus the erraticism that you've already seen. Where's our battery tester now? Curiosity.
Do we need a light?
I do. I got the word radar. That's funny.
We talked about my ghost radar. So, slightly below, I did say something when I was over there that I had a battery on me that you could use for energy if it was having a hard time talking.
Nice.
So,
Good deal. Good deal. We're just going to keep an eye on that from time to time. So we're actually got the word professor. Is anybody here a teacher? No?
She's going to school.
For what?
Neuroscience.
That's interesting. Wow. What level of degree is that?
An undergrad.
Okay.
It's a minor.
Is it?
Yeah. At
How do you
College
get it?
Charleston. That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Minor?
Yeah. That's pretty.
Crap.
What's your major?
Biology. I was trying to find an in-state school that had a neuroscience major, but there was none in South Carolina.
I'm always fascinated, how people pick their degrees. I have several, and mine are all writing. So my PhD will be in ghost, hopefully. But anyway, you guys ready to walk?
Yes.
It's definitely a masked up area because it is Saturday night. Again, I will have mine on, unfortunately. Smoking, drinking, and eating outside are ways to get around that, just so you guys know. And as you guys noticed,
So if
I
you
vape.
have an open bottle rule here, you have an open bottle. Is that
So it's
true?
not just when you're within distance of people, it's even when you're just walking by yourself?
By yourself, not necessary.
Okay.
When you're in a mixed group, like what we have here,
Right.
You guys could all say your family and say you're living together, by all means, if you wish to do so. But he's going to ask you to prove it. So at that point, it'll be driver's licenses out. I do get parties that are all one family of 10, and they are either all cousins, they're sharing a house or whatever, and it does happen, but they have to be able to prove it. So I just put the warning out there so you guys do what you need to do. I'm not paying your tickets. I'll pay my own. But smoking is a way to get out.
So if you're smoking down the street, you don't need a mask on.
No.
Interesting.
So as long as I hold my vape pen
Yeah.
in my hand and I get stopped, I can say I'm smoking and get out.
Interesting. And then the drinking, if you have a Coca-Cola
If I
in
have a
your
Coke
hand,
bottle, Gatorade, whatever, it's a way to get out of it.
Letting them know that the city ordinance is non-enforceable is probably not the way to go.
Yeah.
It's just kind of you don't want to fight what's going on down here. They're really fighting hard to keep the peace. I'm sure you guys, you're local, yes, take that. So I mean, we've had riots and all kinds of. We're supposed to have. I didn't notice any news today about any protests, but we're supposed to have all kinds of protests this weekend.
On
I didn't
what?
hear any news.
On what?
They were
Protests.
multiple things. They didn't
Dad,
list in
there's
the
so
paper
many
what's supposed to be.
issues in
Yeah.
this world we can protest.
No,
Yeah,
I
there were supposed to
So-
be 4 or 5 major protests, and it's all they said. They didn't give us the specifics of who it was, what it was about, and what they were protesting.
There's a climate change one next Sunday.
Man, I don't know how far that one will actually go.
Maybe a hurricane. Okay, let's go.
All right, let's take a walk. Everybody watch your step.
Nick, are we going to the cemetery?
We're going to Lodge Alley. So I guess I could stop you guys here. That's a great question. So a lot of people ask me, do we go to a cemetery? We're going to walk through a cemetery. You're walking through one right now. We've had enough fires, tragedies, wars, where people have died everywhere throughout Charleston. On my very small tour, let's say it was just the two of you, yeah, we might actually hit some extra areas. I'll show off the St. Philip Cemetery, just because there are some stories up there, but that's only because with only 3 people, we're obviously going to move much quicker, so I can get through more areas. But you're walking through a cemetery, the biggest one in South Carolina. It's a whole city.
Oh, so many people died.
Exactly. There's so many tragedies here. You can look up, I think there was over a dozen fires that happened, major fires that took out whole blocks in our history. So, and the wars and all of the extras. That's a great idea.
Anything late?
I'm not really looking. I'm trying to watch where I'm going.
Jesus.
So, if you guys are listening to your spirit box, I'm listening for names. Names specifically. So, same with you, Sean. I was gagging to the point where like, I had to work my way up to it. I have actually smaller ones that only go up to here. Like if anything below there, kind of triggers it.
I'm only decent range, but I have to work like 10 hours a day at the hospital.
I need to rate down here. Johnny, this is a great spot for a picture if you wanted to grab one. Now, when I have the digital camera out, I do get a lot of weird anomalies, light shadows, like weirdness happens down here all the time.
Go look at it. See if there's something in it.
Look at her ticket right now.
Oh, there he is.
Good?
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
No problem.
It was fun. I did a decent go, so they shut the fucking door. The door slammed shut. So we named our ghost Al. Right? 2 years later, I made the girl with the mother. I never told her about it. They were going to leave for it after the review. I'm like, these are, these are fake, this and that. And they're like, no. They kept going to no, real. I said, fine, what was the name of the ghost in my house? I spelled out a name. I'm like, that's not right. And then I spelled out the word Alex. Shut off the door.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'm out.
Ouija boards, and notice, I want everybody to it's a great thing to bring up. So at the top of your evidence page tomorrow morning, you're going to see a list of all the devices that were used in the tour, plus the extras in my bag, and the apps that are used on my phone. Notice that none of these devices are manual. They're not Ouija boards, there's no tarot decks, there's no dowsing rods. They're all electronic devices. As people come by, we're going to make sure we let them through. They look like they might be a little tipsy. So,
Yeah, hopefully they don't trip.
but at any rate, so I do use those things. However, unless you know what you're doing, I've been doing this for decades now. I've learned lessons hard lessons, that I shouldn't be still alive kind of thing, and I still dabble. So I know what I'm doing. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You all have my phone number. Off the air, yes. Once we end the recording and we're walking back, sure, I'll answer anything you want to know.
See, hers isn't doing anything.
It's
Look
that
at that.
dark. So, hi guys.
Hi.
So, here's what I'll tell you guys about where you're at now. So, this is Lodge Alley. This is why I had to go for comfortable shoes. For this reason alone. Now, I will tell you the story you just told us.
Right?
What name did he say? Everybody in agreement with Alex?
Yeah, your name is turned out.
I thought it was Alice at first, and then you said the name again. I was like, okay, it's an Alex. I got Alice. I'll take it. I may not notate it on your data, but it's concurred with what's actually happening. So anyway, you're standing in Lodge Alley. This is one of the oldest streets of Toronto. Not a whole lot goes towards actually find out. These bricks you're walking on are made of clay. They are original. I have the full list of residents of all the people that used to live here. That's why I asked you guys to listen for names. I get one name in particular that shows up often. That name is Benjamin, or it comes up as Ben, depending on which box it's going to. So I do get shadow figures in here with the thermal. So it's usually up there by the half wall up there on the left. That's great for your audio, guys. That tells you were in Charleston. So those church bells from St. Philip's for sure. And Johnny, when we get to the end, there's a great shot of the steeple with some of the older buildings at the edge. So we'll stop for you. Not a big deal.
Appreciate it.
Whenever somebody comes, my wife is a photographer. She does all the graphic design work for Stories in the Cemetery. So I understand when we got to stop. So.
Okay.
But at any rate, so the list of names I have, we'll see if anything comes out of the digital spirit or the recordable spirit box, and then of course we'll see what comes up out of mine as we're walking through. As we're going through here, we're gonna hit a neighborhood, so no lasers on you. I gotta remember we only have one laser because those people are trying to wind down from their day. You're gonna see TVs on in their houses, those kind of things. Please keep filming. If you want to listen to the spirit boxes, just kind of keep them at an audible level till we get to our next location. We'll see what comes out of it. Your EMF, if you get something as we're crossing the next street, let me know. Sometimes I get something, sometimes I don't. It just depends.
Do I let you know at yellow or at like red?
I don't normally, it normally stays on green through this whole alley except for at the very top where Magnolia's is, the restaurant. So we get that eminence coming off of Magnolia's that affects it, but once we're down here, it's usually dead green.
Yeah.
So if you get anything to the end of this alley, I'd like to know.
Thing and all?
Any little thing,
Okay, I
would
got
like to
you.
know. This is also where the Masons used to meet, so if that kind of gives you, this was business down here. So we're talking pre-1790 and after 1900, because during those times, that's when people lived here. These buildings were not here, and these were actually small homes. There was a couple of police reports of things that happened down here, some fights, arguments, slapping in the face, those kind of things. But we'll see what actually comes up. I'm going to look up the name Alice for sure, but I'm almost taking that as a relevance of what I was actually thinking. I also want you to keep in mind the water is that way, and the peninsula, again, was much thinner back then, and the water and low tide, this would not have been a very pleasant place to live during low tide. It would have been a pretty bad smell. They did an archaeological dig in between the bricks. That's where I get all of my evidence from as far as verifying what we actually captured. They did find some of their silverware, their tools, and little pieces of their clothing inside the mesh of the bricks. So again, that's how they were able to determine what class these people were, and they were considered lower class. The building you guys are leaning on over there, that's the Lodge Alley Inn. It does have its own ghosts, as does every hotel. They won't come all the way down. They're just turning around.
I don't think they're gonna fit.
Well, at one point, horse and buggy would have fit through here. So a vehicle will fit, just like a small vehicle, very small vehicle, without actually scraping your side mirrors. But at any rate, so this is an interesting place. I used to tell some stories about when I was working with a psychic in Myrtle Beach, but the more and more I dive into this, the more evidence I get. So we're going to see what comes out of this as we walk through, and we'll let Johnny lead the way so he can actually get his pictures and we're not sliding behind. So
Okay.
after you, sir. And madam, because I know you have to accompany him. Doris Smith. Come right through there.
I'm like way above you guys. Maybe compare into the red after we told our stories and stuff. Oh, it dropped down another
I'm gonna move it around just to verify.
huge chunk.
That is giant. So that's definitely a place where I'm gonna be listening to. Did you guys all catch that?
Yeah.
So it's down in the center. I mean it's way down there.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big chunk. Keeping an eye on that. And again, feel free to move the battery around, make sure it's not a back reading. Like I just juked it around a little bit, and, move the orange bar. That's crazy. I'm gonna put another battery in. Alright, we actually have a story here. So let's gather everybody up here. So this is the story about the alley. I'm not gonna tell it in the alley because you can see here there's another tour. It's a very big hotspot. However, they're only telling a ghost story. We actually have tools and devices to actually debunk the story or prove it true. So I have the proof already that it's true. So we're gonna kind of go through this. They make it some big 15-minute ordeal. So I don't have to keep turning my head.
Sorry.
So this place used to be called Dueler's Alley. It is now Philadelphia Alley, and they named it after one of our cities that saved us from one of our fires. So this story actually takes place when it was Dueler's Alley. So take 20 paces, turn and shoot kind of duels. Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd moved down here from Rhode Island. Keep those initials in mind, R.I. So that kind of matches up with something else that I normally get. Moved down here from Rhode Island. He was supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. The lawyer handling the money said, no, you're not getting married. He sent the doctor elsewhere to go start a practice, and let's see what happens. Prove to me you're not just after Amanda's money. So, he comes down here to Charleston. The coachman that set him up, that brought him into town, set him up to be Robin Hood. Was not a very good start to his statement. Somebody walking by, named Rob Isaacs, with the initials R.I. You still on the square?
Yes.
Almost look like a circle. So anyway, same initials, R.I. Says you don't want to stay here, let me take you somewhere else. It takes him over to 59 Church Street, about a mile and a half. So he rents the room upstairs from 2 young ladies downstairs. Everything is going well. He starts his practice. He's taking random pictures. I'll be interested to see him in that picture. When that does happen, that's usually when I actually capture the best shadows. I caught shadow people that way because the guest had no idea what they were doing. And they were like, oh, I don't know what this picture is. And there's two guys standing right there. And that was over at the Pinckney Mansions. Anyway, back to Ralph Isaacs. I hear the shutter and I'm like, taking pictures. So anyway, it says adjust. That's interesting. So the two become friends. The doctor doing really well. His practice is going up. He's making lots of money. He becomes known as the whistling doctor because he whistled all the time. So Ralph, however, was just an attorney here in Charleston. Attorneys back then, 1800s, were not a very big deal. So he's a tie to Charleston. They used to go see plays together, but they had to sit in different seats. They talked about the plays on the way home. They go see Richard III from Shakespeare, allegedly at Dock Street Theater. I don't know how true that fact is. They start talking about the play on the way home. The doctor loved the new actress. Ralph did not. It turns into an insult party on the doctor's fiance back home. They two get pissed at each other. They go their separate ways. Ralph, being a tie to Charleston, writes in the newspaper what a disgrace the doctor is to the city. He's not from here. He takes all our money. He's too expensive. Yada, yada, yada. The doctor rebuttals with, let's go settle this in Dooller's Alley. Somebody's walking home dead that day. So they come down here. They take their 20 paces. They turn. The doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to prove a point that the argument was stupid and he was willing to forgive. However, Ralph takes 2 shots below the knees. The doctor drops. Normally, the loser of a duel is dead, right? The loser, you could actually see the gap in the wall from here, would go through that wall, through the courtyard of St. Philip's. They would drop the body in their already dug grave, throw some dirt on him, and go celebrate the winner with a pint. Well, that didn't happen. So the doctor, who's down on the ground because he just got shot twice, his friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, a mile and a half from there. He dies 10 days later. Now, as you walk through the alley, they say you can hear the whistling of the doctor. I have 2 that I cannot debunk. Everybody in Charleston usually knows this story, so you're going to hear people trying to kind of make us look like, oh, I just heard a whistle. It's going to be faint. This is where you're going to turn your audio up, especially if you're listening to it in the car, to actually listen for those types of whistles. I just gave you a good example of what not to listen for. It's not going to be that loud. They also say you can hear the gunshots. Do not take one of my tours on the 4th of July. I just skipped right over it. I'm like, nope, I'm not even going to try. I haven't caught a gunshot, but I have caught 2 whistles that I can't debunk. A couple interesting things about the alley. I already told you about the death gate, where the loser would go for the door. The bricks we're going to walk on as we go through it are going to get older. These up here were replaced in the 1990s and repaired, but as we get older, we actually have bricks down at the end that were original to the alley, and they are sun-dried bricks from slave kids. We still have their fingerprints and 1 full handprint in the alley. I will point it out. Somebody lives there. We're going to keep moving. We'll make a left out of the alley and give you that direction so everybody can kind of follow along. If you wanted to grab that picture, probably make a great shot. If you Google handprints Charleston, you'll get the Post-Interior article that'll tell you exactly where else they are in Charleston. There's only 3 spots. This is one of them. It's an interesting part of our history. It's not a great part of our history, but it's still there. And I do like to show, because you guys are visiting, this was part of us, unfortunately. And it's still here. There's proof of it. So, if anybody wants to go check out the gate, we're going to go through that gate right there. I'm going to continue left and stay away from any spirit boxes you guys are going to listen to. If you do have a spirit box, please don't play it in the middle of somebody else's tour. By all means, keep filming. What else do we have? Yeah, the EMF is probably going to go a little nuts near the sign that says Footlight Players. That's the actor studio for Dock Street Theater. Their equipment is right inside the door. So keep that in mind. I don't want you to get excited there. So stay away from the spirit boxes. If you probably wanted to grab a picture of that death gate.
The real bright, right?
Right above it.
Oh, the little thing in the window, maybe.
What's
Yeah.
that white box?
Oh, I think it's that electrical box.
Yep.
That should be nice, though.
Yeah, I was just telling him because the stop sign looked interesting in here. Because it looked like a person's back.
Oh.
What is that? Oh.
talking to you. I'll be honest, I was so against it. I really watched it. Once I sat down, I love good music, and I was highly impressed. Did you watch it in the theater or?
Is it random?
Yeah, so it was on shuffle kind of thing.
I have to go in it every time I'm listening to it in my car.
A couple fingerprints here. You can actually see it on there. Yep.
Is actually stopping at number 2, number 3, number 4. Yeah, I don't understand why there's a purple corner. And then it was like a week later I watched 1776. It is sort of the same story. You know, the writing is different. Is that what that is? It's the
Yep. Just a quick little swing. Remember, I had to turn these bricks. So if you guys want to point it out to the next person, Johnny probably wants a picture of it.
Do you want a picture of the handprint?
Oh yeah, sure.
It's this brick.
Right here by my foot.
My other daughter is 20. Good stuff. Get some good pics, Johnny? We actually stopped here. I'm going to line you guys up around the edges.
This is all they did.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
It's basically all they
Wow. Good thing I bring extra batteries with me.
Hopefully those recordings have something good on them.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Guys, we're going to take a look at one more building. And then I got to kind of cut you guys loose so I can sanitize the equipment for the next one.
Sure.
I'm excited to see what comes out. That battery tester, I wasn't expecting anything out of it, to be honest, especially after what I saw this morning. And it's the battery's dead. So I'm expecting quite a bit to come out of your recordings. So the building catty corner from us, the big brick building, used to be a cotton warehouse. It's used as condos now, and the front of it, they're renovating to be a wedding reception area. So I don't know what the dynamics of everybody here is, but if you're looking for a $50,000 reception area, I just found it for you. Wow. It's going to be considered waterfront because it does face the Bendu, which is 1 block away from Pineapple Park. So there will be 3 on the inside and then a rooftop. So I don't really know what that rooftop's going to cost. But at any rate, so the cotton warehouse, the last person who had it as a cotton warehouse, his name was George Corriere. He inherited the business from his dad, silver spoon kid, no idea what he was doing, got himself into a bunch of debt. And we also have a boll weevil in town, which is a bug that eats cotton. So he really needs to get out of the cotton business. So what he do, he sells it to the British. So watching from the second story floor in the front. The British ship rolls up, they unload all the cotton back here from the warehouse to the garage door to the sea, and he watches the whole thing. Somebody gets too close to the cotton once it's fully loaded, pull the pipe. All of that cotton caught fire, and everybody jumped ship and died. He's already depressed. He got himself a bunch of debt. He didn't have enough money to actually get rid of all of the debt because it sold to the British at a nice cheap price. And his father's legacy is now gone. So what's he do? He piles up all the furniture, he puts a captain's chair on the top. And I do get reminded about that captain's chair, so there must be some kind of truth to it. Because I will get the word chair from time to time if I don't say it. So, piles it up, swings the noose, hangs himself. It is said that you can see the shadow of the swinging corpse from that second story, or the third story, depending which online story you read. I usually get number 2 if I ask directly, on the second story. We're going to test things out with the thermal imaging camera. So when you get up there, Lee, you're going to take a nice slow sweep of the entire second floor. What we're looking for there, guys, is because thermal imaging cannot see through glass. It looks at it as a solid object. So they're all going to be blue. We're going to be looking to see if one of those panes actually turns a darker blue or black, or we have some kind of movement in there. Again, nice slow sweeps from you. And then we're going to test the front of the building with the infrared thermometer as well. So everybody kind of see the peak at the back of the building? The same peak is in the front of the building, only it's covered in a stone. 5 feet below that is the same type of stone inlaid into the brick as decoration. At times, there will be a 30-degree difference between the two. It's windy tonight. I'm expecting probably a good 15 to 20 degree difference. Anything above 20, normally on a cool night where it's not no wind, rather than any wind, I would say 7 to 12 degrees, not 30, which is what I get from time to time. Here's the other thing that happens when I'm looking into this building that we can do this in. 2 blocks away from Philadelphia Avenue, Cleveland Court. Cleveland Court is one of our iconic locations. Now, Zoe, St. Vermont, used to live in that house. It was her home before it was a restaurant. She lived with her sister Elizabeth. Zoe died by falling down the stairs in the home. She was a school teacher. We do get, like last night, for example, I had the word teacher. I get Zoe's name. How I know it's her specifically? Z-O-E, not Z-O-E-Y. And that's the way it comes up every time that I do get it. So sometimes I get both George and Zoe. Sometimes I get one or the other. Sometimes I have none of them. It just depends. It's a hit or miss type location. Even that's going to go crazy when we hit East Bay Street. Those are the parking meters. Yes. Good. So we obviously continue recording. You guys can hear about this asking things like, Zoe, what is your house look like now? You're going to hear things like forks, plate, food, anything related to a restaurant. Coogan is actually a dog. The dog is not going to come through. It likes to pull on pant legs while you're eating. Now, I did tell you, I will give you guys what these apps are. When I go eat at Coogan Porch, I open this, and I put it in the center of the table, and I just enjoy my meal. When I go to a place that's a Legend of Haunted, this always runs. If I go take a tour of Carlos Dungeon, this is on, or it's on my clip. That way I can have the list for later. I also turn on the spirit box and put it in my pocket, where I can listen to it. Those are how my investigations are going with things. Paying for tours at haunted locations. I did get that back. I did get the doll right before that. I don't have anything related to a doll of either of these locations, but those are the kind of work we're looking at. Care, suicide, cotton, fire, things related to a restaurant, those kind of things. I'm going to lead the way when I cross legally twice, go alongside of the building and make a right in front of it so that way you can get the full thermal image. It's a great place to pick the street. You're going to go across the street and kind of zoom in on the Wagner logo on the very front. It's right underneath that. We're going to try to keep away from that that way. The red dot in it.
Which building? I thought it was this building.
Yeah, so your brick is all really blue, and brick should be really fine.
But how do I get the second story windows?
Well, when we get to the end.
Oh, when we get to the end, okay. That's what I was kind of confused about.
Oh, yeah, this doesn't take twice.
Yeah, but on which windows?
Oh, that's right. I think we get it from the
I can't get it from the front if I'm standing on the
when
sidewalk.
we be on the other side of the street when we're looking back.
Are you sure we're doing that?
This is where we make that. Where do we?
So here?
What?
Let's get your laser gun. So I want you to shoot it. See the very top where the stone is? Straight up in the center of the building. Shoot that laser right there. What you got? Keep going.
73.
Okay, go down to the first stone.
73.
Really? The same temperature on both?
73, yeah.
Okay.
Dad, you're going at the round one.
Now it's 50. Now it's 50.
It's 59 now.
It's 59 now. Okay, so maybe he had an off reading.
53.
53.
53 to 79.
64. 62. 65.
If it was crazy, I would say. So, did you hear anything on your story?
62.
Like I said, call or not, it's really open here. Alright, so I'm actually going to start taking your guys' gadgets. Give you guys my cards. That way you guys can check out the website when you can. But I will text everybody that booked. You guys.
63.
Actually, I'll send two to you guys. So, in the morning, I will text you. I'm usually done by noon, 1 o'clock, so I get up pretty early to get started, especially when I have 2 tours. So, I'm actually going to take the camera first.
Okay.
Make sure we're good. Yep, nice job, Lee.